All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about something we all use every single day to make sense of the world. It's a powerful tool called abstraction. And really, you can think of it as the ultimate filter for our incredibly noisy, complicated lives. I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. We are just swimming in a sea of raw information, right? Every single day. Endless data, chaotic news, you name it. It's just too much. So the big question is, how on earth do we find the signal in all of that noise? Well, the answer is a tool that, believe it or not, you are already an expert at using. It's called abstraction. And no, this isn't some high-level academic concept. It's a really practical, disciplined way of turning that chaos into something we can actually get our heads around and, work with. So let's break down how it really works. Okay, that definition sounds a little dense, but notice that key phrase, a disciplined act. That's so important. This isn't just randomly simplifying things. It's a strategic process. We're creating what the source calls tractable conceptual architectures. All that really means is we're building useful mental models. It's literally the main tool we have for separating what actually matters from what doesn't. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We've kind of touched on the challenge already. Now we're going to break down what's in the abstraction toolkit piece by piece. Then we'll figure out what the ultimate goal is, and we'll wrap up with the one single question that really drives this whole thing. All right, let's get practical. The best way to really get a handle on abstraction is to think of it like a toolkit. It's got a super clear three-stage process that's all about building real understanding, right from the ground up. And here they are, the three core stages. It's pretty simple, really. First, you filter out all the noise. Then, you build some kind of structure with whatever's left. And finally, you tweak and refine that structure to make sure it's actually useful. So let's look at each one. So step one is all about strategic removal. It's kind of like trying to see the forest for the trees. You literally have to force yourself to ignore some of the individual leaves and branches to actually see the big picture. And look, this isn't about being ignorant. It's all about focus. So how do we actually filter? Well, we've got four main techniques. There's omission, which is just deliberately leaving stuff out. Like if you're counting cars, you ignore their colors. Then there's simplification. Think of a subway map. It's not geographically perfect, but it's way easier to understand. Xtraction is about pulling out just the key data, like the headline numbers from a super dense report. And finally, essentialization, which is all about finding the absolute core of an issue, asking, what is this really all about? These tools are how we zero in on what's truly important. Okay, so once you've filtered out all that noise, you're left with a pile of essential pieces. Step two is where you actually build something with them. You've got to organize those pieces into a structure that makes sense. It's kind of like you found all the edge pieces of a puzzle and now you're starting to put the frame together. And again, we've got specific tools for this. We use categorization to group similar things together, putting apples and oranges into the fruit bin. We use pattern recognition to spot things that keep happening over and over, like noticing sales always seem to dip in February. We build hierarchies, like an org chart, to understand levels of importance. And finally, we create models to map out how all these pieces connect and interact. Think of a simple supply and demand curve. This is literally how we create order out of chaos. But hey, just building a model isn't the end of the game. This final stage might just be the most important one, refining it. This is where we have to test our new structure, make it better, and, this is crucial, understand its limits. This quote just nails the central challenge here. Let's break it down. If your model is too abstract, it just loses touch with reality. That's what losing empirical fidelity means. But if it's not abstract enough, it's so specific to one situation that you can't apply the idea anywhere else. It undermines theoretical generality. See? It's a total balancing act. So it all comes down to balance, and hitting that sweet spot requires what the source calls judgment. It's a skill. It's about finding the perfect altitude. Are you flying so high that you can't even see the ground anymore? Or are you flying so low that you're just getting bogged down in the trees? Judgment is all about picking the right level of abstraction for the specific problem you're trying to solve. Okay, so we've just walked through this pretty intense three-step process: filtering, building, and refining. But why? Why go through all this trouble? What's the big payoff for all this mental heavy lifting? Well, the source material is crystal clear on this. Every single one of these mechanisms, from omission all the way to modeling, is designed to produce one single, incredibly valuable thing: clarity.
That's it. That's the whole point. The entire goal of this process is to get to an understanding that is both clear and accurate. Yeah, you can use the fancy terms like explanatory coherence and interpretive precision, but what it really means is that abstraction is the engine that turns messy, complicated reality into focused, powerful clarity.
And that brings us right to our final point. This whole process, this whole hunt for clarity, it isn't random. It's all guided by one powerful and, honestly, deceptively simple question that you should probably be asking all the time. This is it. This is the question. What is essential? This question is the engine behind every step of the toolkit. It's what forces you to filter the noise. It's what helps you find the core patterns. It's what pushes you to build models that actually matter. So whether you're analyzing a business, learning a new skill, or just trying to make sense of the world, asking yourself what is essential here is always the first and most important step to finding clarity in all that complexity.